Ahoy there, people. Good evening, and it's Merch Hunter Ricky back with a video that I'm kind of excited to make. One of my first videos on this channel, I'll link it down below, was about how Leo and Don Sai would start the final war. And although I don't think this is necessarily final war material, in chapter 1084 we saw that Leo and Don Sai have actually touched a celestial dragon at the behest of another celestial dragon. And this is exactly what my prediction was kind of leaning towards, is that Don Quixote Mulesguard giving permission to Leo and Don Sai would actually lead to something like this situation of them hitting Charlos. So this is like my first channel W. I'm pretty hype. But to talk about why this is a major event is they are officially, like, they are now pirates. Like, they can never go back to being regular people. And furthermore, look at it this way. Sai is a once known prince of the Kano kingdom. He was probably supposed to inherit the title. I don't remember if it was him or Boo. I think it was him, right? And then Leo is from Dressrosa. And although I don't think that necessarily makes him like a royal guard, I do remember him going to marijoa with Rebecca. Whoops. With Rebecca. And because of this, now, not only are the Straw Hat Grand Fleet, the Straw Hat Pirates, embroiled in a situation having to deal with the Celestial Dragons and what now seems to be the intervention, well, we don't know what that means yet, but the intervention of the Holy Knights, now you have to consider Kano and Dressrosa might be on Emu's nuke list now. The reason being is that, plain and simple, they struck they struck a celestial dragon on marijoa. Like, you can't, like, in that world, this is like the capital sin in basically what amounts to what they think of as heaven. It's like literally like doing the worst possible crime in the worst possible place. Like, this could not be more ill-timed, right? And this is why I genuinely think that, like, in the video prior, I made this like almost a year ago. Like, I figured, like, that piece of knowledge, that little sentence, that throwaway line of Leo asking Don Quixote Mulesguard, can I fight celestial dragons if you give me permission, is basically what he asked. And Mulesguard said, yes, do it. And he's even there in the chapter, like, giving them the permission to go ahead and do so. And this has now been classified as the attempted murder of Saint Charlos. It has been brought up briefly by Borsellino when the same chapter came out that, like, debuted Kuroma Tensei or whatever his name is, Black Horse, like the investigator. He might, I don't think he's a Holy Knight, but he might be the liaison between the Holy Knight and the government. So that being said, now we have to figure out what happened to Leo and Sai. I assume after we get the break, like the next chapter, like, I hope not, but I think the next chapter is going to bring us back to the Straw Hat Pirates. However, if Oda wants to give us good little children an early Christmas present, he will keep this Reverie flashback going. The reason being is that it is very integral to finally get this out of the way, because we have been waiting for way too long. Like, this was back in like chapter 903 is when the Reverie started. It ends at 908, I think. 906 or 908. And, like, come on, that is, where are we now? 1084. You know? Over 100 chapters later, we are now getting the meat and bones of what happened. Finding out the next step of this Reverie flashback, whether Leo and Sai and Don Quixote Mulesguard get in trouble with the Holy Knights, if the Holy Knights outright attack them and imprison them, or if Don Quixote Mulesguard has to shoulder the burden of blame all on his own. These are basically the only options we have. Like, we could be looking at a situation where Leo and Don Sai and the little other Tontatas that were there with Leo, because it looked like there was a few, they could be dead right now. They could be captured, they could be getting beaten as we speak, or they could have simply been ejected from marijoa because they were technically acting under the orders of a celestial dragon. So who are they to turn him down, right? So hopefully the protection of Don Quixote Mule's Guard actually means something. And if it doesn't, does that mean that Don Quixote Mule's Guard will be the next Don Quixote to lose the Celestial Dragon status? Because that's a big deal. It seems that the Don Quixote family keeps falling from grace, right? But on the other hand, if let's say the protection does kick in, then what? Will they be now viewed as the quote-unquote slaves of Don Quixote Mule's Guard simply for their protection, and now maybe be like stuck on marijoa or relegated to protecting him for the time being, because the second that they step off marijoa, will the Holy Knights follow and attack them? We don't know yet, but all I know is what they did to St. Charlos was fantastic, and I can totally see why it was classified as an attempted murder. I doubt St. Charlos will ever be the same after this. I would very much like if Oda has lasting consequences on St. Charlos, like he's permanently a vegetable, permanently immobile, permanently just damaged in some way, shape, or form. He genuinely deserves it. So it would be very, very, very foretelling, if not outright foreshadowing, if we find out in the next chapter what will be the punishment. Like, we can either get it outright, you know what I mean, or we can just get some more hints, because that seems to be the way Oda's doing this for a reason. Remember at the end of Dressrosa, when the Straw Hat Grand Fleet formed, they told us that these guys would be embroiled in a situation, but that's for another day, essentially. And at first we all thought the situation would be with Bartolomeo and Shanks. I think Bartolomeo got off screen so hard that we won't hear about it until we see Bartolomeo again. Who knows? I could probably catch an L there, but that's what I think. I think that we won't find out what Shanks did to him until we see Bartolomeo himself again. But this seems like a more prevalent and pressing matter. These are two delegates of different kingdoms acting under the guise of, or acting under the banner of the Straw Hat Grand Fleet, aka Straw Hat Luffy, who is literally public enemy number one in the eyes of the world government, especially the Gorosei and Imu. And if Gorosei and Imu are at the same level of these holy knights, right, that would be very interesting, because now we have a final triumvirate of power in the world government, where we thought it was the Gorosei, Akainu, and Kong and Imu. Now we know that Akainu and Kong are actually not even part of this triangle, and no, it's not a square. I would say that the Marines, including Kong, do not matter in this situation, and they will just be, again, the face and the foot soldiers of this situation, whereas the Holy Knights, the Gorosei, and Imu will be the final reason as to when and where the world government will actually choose to strike down Luffy, the Straw Hat Pirates, and the Grand Fleet. So this is my next big prediction. I believe the next chapter from this point on will show what happened to Saint Mule's Guard, Charlos, Leo, and Sai. Now, genuinely, the other part to consider for this is that they were trying to kidnap Shiraihoshi. So we can probably assume that the Fishman Island and the Fishmen of Fishman Island will not partake in the next Reverie, remove their status as a world government affiliate, and maybe even stop sending the royal tithe over, because I assume they were paying that, right? If they're not paying the celestial tribute anymore, will the Holy Knights have to also then go to Fishman Island and fight? These are questions to be considered. So right now we have a nice hot pot of a situation brewing, where because Charlos was put within an inch of his life by Leo and Sai, we are implicating the Straw Hat Pirates, the Straw Hat Grand Fleet, Kano Kingdom, Dressrosa, and because Shirahoshi was the subject in question to be captured by St. Charlos, now we have embroiled Fishman Island in this, and it wasn't even remotely their fault. So, because Luffy definitely promised to be there for Shirahoshi, I need to find that chapter. It might not be edited in the video, and that's because I simply couldn't find it in time to post this. However, I know Luffy would not be pleased to hear about Fukaboshi, Shirahoshi, Mom Boshi, and I don't remember the third one. Sorry, Boshi, Brother Hoshi. But he would not be happy to find out that Fishman Island has been targeted by the world government. So maybe this will be the kicking off point to where the Straw Hat Pirates fit in this quote unquote final war. Because it does seem like every step that we take getting closer to chapter 1090 and 2000, we are getting more and more reasons for a dangerous event to occur. Obviously, we have what's going on Egghead Island, which will, people are saying, the narrator himself said that like the day of that incident at Egghead Island is like a very, very grandiose and dangerous event that was like, everyone in history is going to remember it, and we're about to find out why, right? And then on top of that, we have this situation here in marijoa with a celestial dragon being attacked in their own homeland. And then with the Holy Knights having to intervene, will they have time to dispatch those Holy Knights for the Revolutionary Army? Or will the Revolutionary Army get an advantage going forward? And, will the Holy Knights be dispatched to Fishman Island when Fishman Island quits being a part of the world government and no longer attends the Reverie and stops sending the Celestial Dragon tribute? So these are some things to consider. Honestly, I'm ready. Like, I'm... like, if I were to get unhinged on camera, I would just do it really quick and just like, let's go. I'm a member of the Straw Hat Grand Fleet, and I was so hyped for that. Like, I was very ready to see Charlos get what he deserved, and genuinely I wanted him to die. So there is that. But all in all, I am very pleased with the events that are shaping out. Again, my first channel W, I literally made a video about this a year ago saying that Leo would get permission from Mjolsgard like he asked, like they showed in the chapter, and he would in fact use it. So, woo! Again, that video is really embarrassing, but I'm not going to put it on private. I don't do that. Like, my channel has evolved in a certain way, and I like for people to see said evolution process, so it will be linked down below. I'm Merch Hunter Ricky. Have a great weekend, guys. Tomorrow, you can expect the next Devil Fruit video to pop up, and later tonight, I'll drop the Roll for Battle Anime Edition. So, have a good one, everyone.